Today's the big shootout between the Snap-on and the Icon ratchets. Wait, hold the Snap-on. Hold on a second. Yeah, there we go. This is the Snap-on. This is the Icon. Last ratchet review, we talked about Icon versus EP Auto, and we found out that they're really not that similar, but the Snap-on versus the Icon, a lot of similarities here. It's got the on-off switch on both of them. I do like that. They've both got the pear-shaped head, although Icon is a little bit more pear-shaped. It's kind of tapered down here at the bottom. They've got a screw-on plate here at the front side of it, which is a much stronger design than those snap ring retainers. But is that all we've got? Is it just looks, or are these things similar in other ways too? Today we're going to find out. Now right off the bat here, the Icon is a 90 tooth. It even says it right here on the face of it. They're proud of that. Snap-on is a 72 tooth. So if you do the math, a 90 tooth is going to give you 4 degrees of swing arc, and a 72 tooth is 5 degrees. Now we can test that some other day, but for today we'll just take them at their word for the nominal value of their swing arc. So Icon wins there for being 90 tooth. What else do we have? Well, Icon claims this is a low profile head. How does that compare with the Snap-on? Let's stack them up here and find out. They are nearly identical. Yeah, with the Snap-on we've got 0.437, Icon 0.416. It's almost impossible to tell unless you use a micrometer. Now, one thing that it does lack is clearance on that switch. Let me show you there. It's 0.54, and on the Snap-on you're getting more clear. Wait a minute. 0.54. 0.54, it's kind of jumping around depending on, see that switch kind of moves in and out. So depending on how how you measure it, that Snap-on is barely going to beat it out just with a more shallow switch here. Well, that's pretty much it for outside. Let's get onto the inside of these things and see how they're built. We can decide which one's going to be better. Let's do the Icon first. I'll do it quick because we've already seen that tear down in the last video. We compared that to the EP Auto, and I said that in my opinion, this Icon is built way better than that EP Auto ratchet for a number of reasons, but mostly because I liked the pawl on here. This has a much bigger pawl. It's a single pawl design, but the amount of teeth that contact the anvil on the Icon, I like that better than that EP Auto. There's only a few teeth there that contact the anvil, and I thought that that would probably make it a much weaker design. Now when I turn the switch here on the Icon, that's what engages the teeth in different directions. So it's going to ratchet in one direction and then go back the other way. It'll ratchet this way. So that pawl there just rocks back and forth. I was talking to CP about it. He told me that the dual pawl design, like in this Snap-on here, it's not necessarily stronger, but when you're really pulling on that ratchet and giving it a lot of torque, it's less likely to bind up inside. So it's better for all use cases where the Icon might bind up on you, and that can get a little bit frustrating. Let's go ahead and count the teeth here that could possibly be contacting. That'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm just going to say 7 here. These 7 teeth here are going to be able to contact on one side of the anvil, just like that. And then when it swings over the other direction, another 7 teeth are going to contact it on the other side. So that's not bad. The EP Auto, I think, had about 3 teeth in contact with the anvil. And in my opinion, that was a pretty weak design. All right, Snap-on time. Got to change out bits here. Pretty small bits. I gotta use my pliers. This is a T8. The other one was a T6. I don't think we're gonna get these parts mixed up the snap-on screws are already a much heavier looking screw. Oh, there it goes. There's a spring under, I'm trying to hold it down. There's a spring under this plate, which kind of holds everything in place when the screws are in there. So I'll let that up slow here. Now the snap-on, it's got quite a bit of grease in there. There was a little bit of oil in the icon, which I was surprised by. That EP Auto was dry. Now here's the mechanism on the pawls here. It's a dual pawl setup. Now let's count the teeth that contact the anvil on this one. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there's 6 teeth in contact here. We said 7 with the icon. I'm going to go with that. So I guess you got to chalk it up for icon on this one. If a number of teeth contacting the anvil is a signal of the strength of the entire ratchet, you got to give it to icon there. I'll pull this anvil out carefully. Try not to get everything from springing around. Now here's one piece of the design on a snap-on that you're not going to see on an icon. It's got this seal on here. So this keeps kind of all the oils and shmoo out of your ratchet, and it keeps the grease that you want inside of it. So that's +1 for snap-on, in my opinion. I like that it's got a seal there. Now these dual pawls are connected with that spring, and it's held in place. It's not just kind of flopping around in there, which I like. The EP Auto springs were just, they're just sitting in there kind of flapping in the breeze, and if something was to move the wrong way, those springs were gone. So I like this design. This little spring is the one that was holding that cover, keeping it coming up, but it's actually holding all of this in when the cover is bolted in. Just gonna dump it. There we go. Yeah, you don't want to lose that little guy there. That's gonna keep the switch working right. And there's your switch. Now this switch does need to get replaced on some snap-on ratchets when guys break them off, but this is a part that can be replaced. With icon, you're just going to warranty the entire ratchet. The machining on the inside is similar, but not the same. Let's look at the anvils. All right, I've mixed up these anvils. Can you tell which one is which? Which one is the icon? Which one is the snap-on? Go ahead and leave your comment down below, but no cheating. Yep, this one here, this is the icon, and the snap-on is on the right. So the snap-on has a lower profile, much lower actually, than the icon. And it looks like the machining here on the snap-on is a finer machining. There's a little bit more. So on the icon, you can hear that texture. And on the snap-on, they finished it much smoother. Now the teeth on here, the teeth on the snap-on seem to be milled in there a little bit deeper than the teeth on the icon. You can see it from this direction a little bit better. So fewer teeth are engaging the snap-on, but these look like stronger teeth to me just because they're machined that way. They're machined deeper into this ratchet mechanism, and I would trust these teeth probably more than these, but it's close. A viewer also recommended that we test the hardness on these anvils to see how well they will hold up over time and whether they'll wear out or not. So let's check that. Now I don't have a hardness tester, but I've got a couple of ideas here. First, let's go to the bastard file, the bastard file. Now this is a, I don't know if it's a bastard file. It's a 3-sided file, but files are hard enough to file steel. Let's give that a shot. Give it a couple passes with it. Now the harder the steel, the more difficult it is to file it, to cut steel off. And this seems relatively hard, but it's not, it doesn't feel super hardened to me. Snap on. Now it's got a beveled edge already. Let me see if I can match that. Oh yeah, did you hear that? It has a different sound to it. That file's just skating across the material here, and it's not cutting into it like the file cut into the icon here. See how cut right there it is? And the snap-on, I took some of the finish off of it, but that's it. Feels like this is a harder steel than the icon. Let's do one more test. Okay, this is a spring punch, and it's got a hardened steel tip on it. It's designed to just put a dimple into metal before you drill it, so you can just drill right on the center. So I'm gonna just punch right there in the center of the icon. Kind of slipped off. So it's got a pretty decent divot. Let me do one more because it kind of slipped. It's hard to do with the anvil pointing down. One more time, one more time. Okay, there it is there. Doesn't feel real deep. All right, snap-on time. Now we've got a little bit more going on here in the middle. I'll try and do it right here on the outside edge, but it's going to be hard to keep it from moving around. Let me go here. Let me try some pliers. All right, see what I can do here. Oh yeah, that worked way better. Remember that for next time. So there is a mark on it. Let's see how deep it feels. Barely feel it at all. So this isn't exactly a scientific test. I don't have the HRC gauges that you would use to do a much better, more scientific test. There's a pretty good look at it in the light. Let's compare that to the icon here. What do the judges say there? Icon, a little bit softer. Not a lot, not much. They're both a good part. I think the pawls here are so small that I would just end up losing that spring or breaking them or something like that, trying to do the same test, but we're just going to assume that the steel here is going to be about the same as the steel on the anvils. You wouldn't want there to be much of a difference, because if there were, whichever was softer would would grind away to nothing in a hurry. So I'm going to say that these are probably made out of the same steel. So I don't know. These are both a good tool. Now the snap-on is obviously much more expensive than the Harbor Freight. Is snap-on a clear winner? Well, for me, yeah, I just like using them. They make me happy. Am I going to tell you that buying a Harbor Freight is a bad choice? Not at all. I think this icon is a very good ratchet. Decent, especially for the money that you're paying for it. Now, you can find them, or you were able to find them maybe about a year ago. Same ratchet, different logo, much cheaper. But as far as I know now, Harbor Freight has a lock on this design that they bought from Taiwan. So now the only place you can get it, as far as I know, is Harbor Freight. 35 bucks, not bad. Probably 135 bucks. Well, pretty expensive. I do like using it though. There's nothing wrong with paying a little bit extra if you can afford it. And there's also nothing wrong with using an icon if you want to save your money for something else. Wait, Which one of these do I have to... Oh man, it's gotta be this one, right? Okay. I'll see you next time.